I don't suppose you could give me a sample of your brain tissue for study purposes?
Rescuing Dr. Hansen makes playing through the Wings of Liberty campaign worthwhile all by itself, but there are other things to do in the campaign, and in this tutorial video, we'll talk about the first 3 missions of the campaign, the Mar Sara missions. This is not a walkthrough of all of those missions. That would take quite a long time, but hopefully there will be some tips here that will help you get started in single-player campaign mode. If you've looked on StarCraft, on the StarCraft II website, you've noticed that Blizzard seems to be focusing almost entirely on esports anymore, on the multiplayer mode, and particularly on the people who are playing in tournaments. Yes, that's all fine and good. Most of us aren't going to ladder up that far, and frankly, playing multiplayer on the ladder begins to make you feel like a hamster in a wheel after a while. And since multiplayer games tend to look so much the same, it can be boring, frankly. If you really want to spend a lot of time in that mode of the game, you can, but...
Don't go up that road.
Yeah, that's good advice. After all, StarCraft II says right there in its logo, Wings of Liberty. That's the single-player campaign, and it's a mighty good thing to play. You should play it even if you want to focus on multiplayer, since it can help you get better. Another way to get better is to play the challenges, which are a series of kind of little tutorial schemes you walk through. And you would play that by getting into the game and clicking right here. And then if you want to play against the computer, you can slow the game down, play this or that strategy with the computer playing easy, see if it works, see how things work, and learn that way too. But you can also just get onto the website. We're out of the game and back onto the website and read and get quite a lot of information that way in the game guide. If you want to focus on the campaign, one additional resource I would look at is the Wikipedia 2 website, the campaign page. It's really, really important to understand this page. Now, StarCraft may burn you out a little bit eventually on the campaign and on multiplayer. Blizzard knows that, and they've looked at the success of a few quirky little games they've done, like Iron Chef, which you can kind of tell I like, and come up with an arcade area where people can create custom maps with all kinds of different sorts of approaches to StarCraft, and you can go there and experiment with those. Those change all the time. But let's get into the campaign right now.
Held a press conference commemorating the end of the so-called Brood War some 4 years ago. Our own Kate Lockwell was on the scene.
Emperor, the threat of a new Zerg invasion is still very real. But instead of expanding our fleets, you've squandered trillions on hunting down has-been rebels like Jim Raynor.
Jim Raynor represents a clear and present threat to this dominion. He is an unscrupulous, lawless revolutionary bent on spreading fear and dissension across the sector. He and his ragtag band of miscreants have instigated open rebellion across 6 separate worlds and stolen vast amounts of alien weapons. I'm sure this criminal will be brought to justice very soon.
It ain't over till it's over. Adjutant, are my troops ready yet?
Your forces are prepared and awaiting your orders, Commander. Uploading tactical data now.
Good. About time we kick this revolution into overdrive.
Well, at the beginning of StarCraft II's single-player campaign, Wings of Liberty, we find Jim Raynor still at it with Arcturus Menx, the evil dictator who has taken over the sector. The first 3 missions of the game, the Mar Sara missions, are Liberation Day, the Outlaws, and 0 Hour. And they break you into the game little by little so that by the end of those first 3 missions, you should have the basics of StarCraft II down if you haven't played StarCraft before. This is Joey Ray's bar, Raynor's base of operations while on Mar Sara. Over here are some tips on what you can do in this space. You can click on many objects or people, highlighted or not, and something will happen. Or you can go to your next mission by clicking the mission case. Let's load up the Liberation Day mission. You'll see the unit you're going to get and learn about it in this mission, in this case a Marine, and get the mission objective, in this case to destroy the Dominion outpost.
Backwater Station is the center of Dominion logistics on Mar Sara. Destroying Dominion authority here will cripple Emperor Mengsk's operations throughout the planet.
All right, boys. Let's show the locals they don't need to fear the Dominion.
Missions begin with brief cinematics, and then it's your turn. Be sure you're clear on the objectives, and keep an eye on this area for additional information, in this case tutorials and an indication of Raynor's health. Note that in this mission he's stronger than a normal Marine. Here's a map of the mission area. You're headed along this road to this outpost. In the way there will be some opposition.
You can count on me.
Here we find ourselves coming up on a group of Dominion forces. Because of their apparent antipathy, we should stop and ponder this situation. With all our units selected, we can click a spot on the ground and they'll go there and stop, or click the stop icon with a mouse, or use the keyboard shortcut for that icon, the S key. Now watch what we do next. If we just send everyone forward, it'll be two groups shooting at each other, dividing their fire between members of the other group. We want to do two smart things here. First, focus fire on one enemy unit, kill it, then focus on another, and so on. Second, go ahead and key this up in sequence by holding the shift key as we click each enemy unit in turn, so we're focusing first on one, then on the next, then on the next, until they're all down. Note what happens as we attack. The game spreads the units out in a line. With enough units in time, they'd form a concave around the target. A concave is more effective than keeping units massed in a group for two reasons. First, all the units are firing instead of some milling about the back of a large group. And second, because the units are spread out, if they come under tank fire or attack from anything else that causes splash damage or area of effect damage, fewer units will be damaged because of the spread. However, letting the computer form a concave takes a bit of time, so it's possible to form it in advance outside of range and then move it up that way. In this case, it doesn't make much difference. Note here that one unit is in deep trouble. It would be possible to select just that unit by clicking the wireframe diagram and then pulling him back out of range by clicking on the map. That would make more sense if there were more medics, to heal him after the battle. Now, about halfway through this match, being given an additional bonus objective of blasting Dominion hollow boards, you'll get to this spot on the map. The trick here is to charge in just as your reinforcements arrive so that both forces engage the Dominion simultaneously. Then poke around this area for a couple more hollow boards to blast that are tucked out of the way. Now note something here. This shows hotkeys I've set up. By selecting Raynor and all the Marines and then control-clicking F1, they're the F1 hotkey. I can select the whole group instantly. In case I want to select and use just Raynor, he's F2. I might want to be able to quickly move Raynor either to save him or to push him forward to get more kills. Each mission has some achievements, apart from the objectives, that you can try to earn. And in this mission, those achievements are completing the mission, all of the mission objectives, Raynor getting at least 5 kills, and clearing out every enemy unit. So having Raynor hotkeyed so you can move him forward if you need to get another kill or two would be a use of that hotkey. In the missions, you should try to accomplish all the objectives because they will earn you money, credits that can be spent on upgrades, or research points, which can get you other technology. Achievements are entirely optional. Back to the game. After meeting these reinforcements, a sensible thing to do would be to press F1, then drag a box around the reinforcements to select them two, or control-click on them to add them all, and then hotkey the larger group together so that everybody's in your original group's hotkey. One more point about keys and commands. There is a big difference between using the move command and using the attack command. The move command will get units to go somewhere, and they won't stop if they come under attack. They'll just keep going. Sometimes that's best. But if you began the mission, for example, by selecting your units and giving a move command by selecting the units and clicking on the outpost up at the top and hoping they just walk the road all the way by themselves, they get attacked along the way and get picked off because they wouldn't fight back. This is the sort of situation where you want to use the attack command so if they are ambushed, they can fight back. Now, fight on through to the end of the mission, trying not to bite off too much at once. And enjoy this screen. Let's see what Donnie Vermillion thinks about that.
This is Donnie Vermillion, live from the UNN studios on Core Hall. We've got a breaking story for you. Let's go live to our own Kate Lockwell on the fringe world of Mar Sara. Kate?
Thanks, Donnie. Rebel Jim Raynor has reappeared in a big way. He's attacked a Dominion depot near Backwater Station, seizing weapons and distributing them to the local populace.
Kate, I bet the locals are pretty nervous about having a notorious outlaw in their neighborhood.
Actually, Donnie, the people I talked to seemed really encouraged by
Kate. You heard it here first. Jim Raynor, terrorizing the locals on Mar Sara. When we return, are your kids using stim packs?
Keep talking, pal. I'm just getting started.
Thanks to your actions, Mar Sara is now in a state of open revolt against Arcturus Mengsk.
On to the second mission, the Outlaws, which will bring us the medic, but also the most important Terran unit of all, the SCV. This mission encapsulates most everything you need to know about StarCraft II. We'll spend some time on it. Here we have a base. Our objective is to destroy the Dominion base up here. It's a safe bet we can't do that with just these 6 Marines. The very first thing we do is to set our SCVs to mining minerals and start building more SCVs. In most StarCraft II games, you'd start with 6 SCVs and 50 minerals. We have a bit more here. This tells us how many minerals we have. Click the command center and the SCV icon, and if you have 50 minerals, the command center will start building an SCV. When it is built, it will appear outside the command center doing nothing. That's no good. So, early on, we need to select the command center and then the rally arrow and click on a mineral patch so the SCVs go straight to the mineral line to begin mining once they're created, once they're built. Now I'm going to build some Marines at the barracks also, and I want to rally them somewhere. In this case, I'm going to rally them to an existing Marine so that they reinforce our existing group. Note that if that Marine dies in battle, though, the new Marines won't just rally to another Marine because they aren't rallied to a Marine that exists anymore. They'll just end up being created and stand outside the barracks. Here's our map. There are free minerals we can pick up by sending a unit over to touch them, and there's a rebel base we'll end up visiting on our way to the Dominion base. But back to business. We've told an SCV to spend 75 minerals building a refinery on a Vespine geyser. SCVs and Marines don't require gas to produce, but medics do. Most base locations will have 2 gas geysers, not 1. Everything in the game depends on a strong economy, on lots of units mining and harvesting gas. You should try to get 3 SCVs per refinery and 2 or 3 SCVs per mineral patch. There are usually about 8 mineral patches as here. Then your base will be saturated and you should have expanded to build another base if possible, at least one other base. You can click on a refinery, by the way, to see how many SCVs are harvesting it. That's not always immediately apparent. There is a tricky concept related to production though, and that's supply. You only have so much supply. This shows how much. You can begin building buildings, you can continue building buildings if you have money without needing supply. But when you hear this sound,
additional supply depots required.
That's a major problem. We have 19 supply and we've used it all. We can't build more units until we get more supply. Terrans get supply by building supply depots. Each supply depot gives you 8 additional supply. Then you can build 8 more Marines or 8 SCVs or some combination. Some units take more than 1 supply each. The bigger the unit, the more supply it takes. Protoss build pylons to add supply, and Zergs build overlords. Note that your supply depots can lower into the ground or raise, so that allows them to be used not only as things you have to build and blow money on to get supply, but also as barriers that you can cross when desired. Always start building supply a little ahead of when you'd run out, so you never get supply blocked. Note 2 more things here. We're building multiple production buildings. If you can afford it, that's more effective since, say you want 3 Marines. If you have 3 buildings and you build 3 Marines all at once, they all pop out together. Whereas if you have 1 barracks and you build 3 Marines and build them sequentially, it takes 3 times as long. You don't have time to wait. Your enemy won't be waiting. So it's better to get units out as quickly as you can, and that often means more than 1 production building. Second, a barracks has an add-on. This barracks has a tech lab. Tech labs allow building additional fancier units like medics, and also allow research into some advanced capabilities. There are also add-ons called reactors that allow building 2 at one time of some of the basic units that come out of that building. Now we're at the most important thing in StarCraft II, balancing your build order. You need SCVs. You also need at least a small army early on for defense before you have a big enough army to attack. You need a barracks early, both for Marines and because in the tech tree, future buildings can't be built until there's a barracks. In multiplayer games, you won't start with a barracks. And you need to balance all this out, along with building supply depots. If you start with 250 minerals, don't queue up 5 SCVs. You can only build 1 SCV at a time. Build 1 SCV or maybe have a second one ready and then use the rest of your money for something that can be done right then, like building a barracks. And then as minerals come in, more SCVs, a supply depot, a marine, have an SCV coming most all the time, keep the supply depots coming periodically and build up your force. You can't do it all at once, but you can do it all a little at a time. Some people publish supposedly ideal build orders for various strategies which use a notation assuming you'll constantly build SCVs and telling you at what supply number to build a building or unit. Note the use of the shift key to queue a series of commands. We don't want an SCV to build a building and then just stand there. We want it to go back to mining. And notice that I've hotkeyed buildings. My barracks are 5, my command center is 0. That way whenever I'm out on the map somewhere and I want to do something back at my base quickly, I can hit 0 to get the command center, B for build, and S for SCV, and just like that, in a fraction of a second, it's building an SCV. I don't have to go back and look at my base and start mousing around. Or I can hotkey my barracks as 5, hit B for build, M for marine, and click, or if I have 3 barracks and I have 150 minerals, click 3 times M 3 times click quickly and have 3 marines on the way. Speed and efficiency, 2 sides of a coin, pay off when used with a balanced approach to macroing up an economy and building a base and an army. We're going to send some units out to pick up some minerals and gas that are just sitting around waiting for someone to tag them, which gets them for free, which is a pretty good deal. Here we're visiting the rebel base. That brings them over to our side. Gets us an extra barracks here and some more minerals and gas, and lets us look to see if this buggy here appears in the colors of the General Lee, which occasionally it does. Here's the big push. We have a couple of dozen Marines, and we definitely had more earlier as we were starting out. A few medics healing them, a strong economy back at our base, and we're using hotkeys to pump in reinforcements. However, all is not well. We're clumped up, and as you can see, the units in the back are milling about ineffectively instead of fighting. We're also vulnerable to tank damage or to the flame from the Hellion by being clumped up. Being spread out a bit would be safer and more effective. Finally, here's our concave. Now watch as we attack buildings. We divert from attacking the building to attack the piddly little SCV and then focus back on the building. Why? Well, SCVs can attack ground forces, but weakly, that's not the concern. The concern is that SCVs can repair buildings, either on command or by auto-casting auto-repair. Several SCVs can keep a building up a long time, during which time you'd probably be under attack. Don't let SCVs do that. Sometimes you need to take the SCVs that are repairing a building down first, and then it's easier to take the building down quickly. Okay, we've rescued the rebels, and we're about to finish this base. Since we're doing it in under 10 minutes, we pick up an achievement for that. In this case, an achievement you should strive for since it teaches speed and you need to learn to attack quickly since your opponent will certainly be doing that. You should definitely have searched out all the minerals and gas pellets, and that's another achievement. Completing all of the objectives is a third achievement. Oh, I hope UNN doesn't mind this.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's go now to Kate Lockwell with an update on Jim Raynor's violent uprising.
Thanks, Donnie. Raynor's clearly widening his list of targets. He's attacked a Dominion archaeological dig and possibly seized a dangerous alien artifact.
Emperor Mangsk spoke on this subject earlier today.
There's no telling what kind of havoc these supposedly innocuous relics might wreak upon our worlds. Anyone found in possession of these items will be dealt with to the fullest extent of the law.
Look on the bright side, partner. You're a wanted man either way.
Thanks, Tychus.
Shocking, Kate. I imagine civilian casualties were high as a result of Raynor's terrorist actions.
Actually, the only civilian deaths appear to be collateral damage from overzealous Dominion security force.
Thanks, Kate. You heard it here first. Jim Raynor, killing women and children on Mar Sara.
Finally, we'll take a quick look at 0 Hour. This will be more tell than show, and if you're an experienced StarCraft player, you may want to hit yourself on the head with a hammer at this point. But for newer players, hopefully this will be quite useful. This mission requires you to hold out against the Zerg for 20 minutes. It's mainly just turtle down in defensive mode. The bonus objective is to rescue 3 rebel groups that will signal you at different points in the mission. None of that's very hard. What complicates this mission are the achievements. Now, to digress a bit, trying to get all the campaign achievements and all the missions can blow a lot of your time in this game. A lot of time. It usually means playing the campaign more than once, maybe 2-3 times or more. For example, some achievements like Hurry Up, It's Raid Night are not tied to a particular mission but to the entire game, and in that you're supposed to try to finish the mission in a set period of hours. Actually, if you look at the Wikipedia 2 website that I told you to, you'll notice there's a path through the campaign that gets you through in just 19 missions. But still, a lot of people do that achievement separately, and that runs up some time. A lot of people need to do achievements in 2 different runs through a mission. In this mission, for example, although you don't need to complete the achievements to complete the mission and to get credits for your upgrades, if you try not to lose or salvage a single structure on normal difficulty, that's one of the achievements, and you also try to destroy 4 hatcheries on hard difficulty, you may have difficult time doing both, and not because you have to play it on normal and then on hard. When you read or hear do on normal, that actually means do on normal or higher. So you could just go through it once on hard and get both achievements, but the problem is it's pretty difficult to do that. Sometimes you need to run through one just focusing on being defensive and protecting your buildings, and sometimes you need to salvage your bunker and not worry as much about buildings so you can build a force and go get hatcheries. Anyway, rambling, try to focus here a little bit. Here we see our base. It's on a raised platform. Just below, down a ramp, is a road going to 2 bridges. You have 2 choices here. You can salvage the bunkers at the bridges. To salvage a bunker, you can actually select the bunker and salvage it, meaning they blow up and you get back most of their cost, and that's handy to know. And then you can build bunkers across the ramp up top and just turtle inside the main base. Or instead, you can bunker up at each bridge, hold a line there. We're trying to get achievement. If you're trying to get achievements, you'll have to do the latter since you're not allowed to salvage buildings. And you'll need at least 2 bunkers early in the game and maybe more as you progress depending on what level you're on. There are some new things here. The barracks can take the reactor add-on now for rapidly building Marines. There's already an engineering bay, normally something you have to build. The engineering bay allows infantry upgrades to get weapon strength or armor strength. And and an engineering bay also allows you to build missile turrets for anti-air, which you'll need when mutalisks fly in. And with the engineering bay, you can build more of those with your SCVs if desired, although there already are some. Then you can see there are Zerg bases in every other corner of the map. There are 3 different rebels who will need bases where they'll need your rescue. Up at the top, there's a little Easter egg of sorts, an outhouse with a Tauren Marine in it, which for fun, if you can get up that far, will blast off if you keep clicking on it. Start with a balanced build, load Marines into bunkers, at least 2 per attack path in the beginning, and have an SCV ready to repair the bunkers and ready to repair missile turrets. The AI in this may or may not take out your SCVs. If they do, you're going to need multiple SCVs down there to keep the bunkers repaired as the attack hordes come in. When the rebel forces call for help, attack move out to rescue them with a group of Marines and collect the resources and bring them back. If you have a large force, you can try taking down hatcheries. However, make sure you don't lose so much you can't do base defense in the closing minutes. If you use up most of your forces taking down the hatcheries and you only bring a few back to the base in the last minute or so of the game, it's going to get ugly. The trick here is it takes a number of minutes to be able to build up enough forces to attack, and then you're getting closer to having to get back to the base and defend at the end when the swarm comes in. Also at the end, drop pods at the harder level will put Zerg right in your base, right behind your lines. Now when you're going after a hatchery, first do one thing that is very, very crucial in this game, anywhere in the game. Although the game does occasionally autosave, and you can load an autosave if you get stuck or wiped out or something, it's smart to manually save your progress. If, for instance, you know you're about to attack their hatcheries with a large force and you don't know whether or not you're going to get wiped out, save it, like with the name of the mission and then a number, and then use sequential numbers. And then if you get plastered, you'll hopefully be able to go back and fix it. Be sure to save a couple of minutes before the evacuation also. Now here comes a mistake. We have a large group with a lot of Marines in the back. It would make a lot more sense to divide this group into 2 or 3 smaller, separately hotkeyed groups to keep them spread out. Perhaps one group could hit one spine crawler, one the nidus worm, one the other spine crawler, then concentrate on whatever's left in the hatchery, and that way you wouldn't have people kind of falling all over each other there. You don't actually have to clear multiple bases, though, to get all 4 hatcheries if that's what you're trying to do. You can clear one base, get the hatcheries, and then leave. As long as you haven't killed the drones will rebuild, and you don't even have to wait for them to completely rebuild the hatchery. As long as they've started, just go in and kill what's growing there, and then you have it. Be aware that as you're going about the map, the Zerg will put units behind you. So if you're rallying reinforcements and they're just kind of blindly traipsing across the map to catch up to you, they may get picked off. You may have to leave a few units just scattered along the path to take care of drop pods and so forth. If you're about to be overwhelmed at the end of the mission, major Terran buildings can lift off so they can be flown around and repositioned. You could try to float away until the clock runs out, although frankly it's likely the Zerg air units and the Hydralisks that can tack up will be able to take them out anyway. Once you finish this mission, you'll be evacuated to the Hyperion, Raynor's flagship, commanded by Matt Horner. Tychus Finley will come along. Given the game's opening cinematic, you ought to wonder what he's really up to. Now you know Arcturus Mengsk is no longer the biggest problem in the game either. The Queen of Blades, Sarah Kerrigan, is back in force with the Zerg Swarm.
We ain't seen the Zerg in years. Why attack Mar Sara now?
It's not just Mar Sara. You need to see this.
Zerg Swarm launched a full-scale attack.
Devastation spread throughout all Outer Rim planets.
Sustained heavy losses.
Casualties in the billions.
Minutes ago, the Zerg attacked a Dominion military research facility.
Sweet mother of mercy.
New exclusive video footage confirms the Queen of Blades is in fact leading the swarm.
We always knew she'd be back, but what's she after?
She's come to finish the job.
Oh, well that's a shame. On the bridge of the Hyperion, you can click people and objects and see what happens, as is true in other parts of the ship. The important things here are the star map, where you'll select new missions, the mission archives, where you can replay old missions, and the menu across the bottom, which becomes available in its entirety as the game progresses. You can also see your last 2 missions earned you some credits. Be aware of the general menu items as well. Let's go to the armory to spend some credits. We could buy bunker enhancements or marine and medic enhancements. We don't have enough money for everything. We want bunker enhancements, marine enhancements, and the expensive stabilizer med pack enhancements, but for now we'll just settle for bunker enhancements. We could just as well get stim pack. On the star map, there are 2 missions available, and you can pick either. This is where having a long-range plan comes in handy. If you know you want particular units early in the campaign, follow a mission path that gets you there quickly. Look at the webpage I mentioned earlier to figure out how to do that. I'm partial to Reapers, Siege Tanks, and Vikings myself, but other people like other things, like Goliaths or whatever. You should also try to start the Prophecy missions as soon as possible, as they get you a lot of research you can use in other missions. From here on in, it's your adventure to figure out. Good luck! Now don't get all high-handed about what you've been learning.